Anik and Florian Rewind exclusive to UFC Fight Pass. Coming to you today in advance of UFC 302, Makhachev versus Poirier. John Anik alongside former three-time UFC title challenger Kenny Florian. How do people normally introduce you? I introduce you on the Anik and Florian podcast in any number of different ways, but oftentimes it's former three-time UFC title challenger Kenny Florian. And I think Dustin Poirier, as much as that sounds good, is hoping that after UFC 302, he is not introduced as former three-time UFC title challenger Dustin Poirier, but former undisputed UFC lightweight champion Dustin Poirier. Am I right?
Oh, man, so well tied together, as you always do, my friend. Great to see your face. Yeah, excited to talk about these fights, man. Especially, I always like looking back and seeing how these guys look, especially when there's a pertinent challenge ahead. So, yeah,
Yeah,
very cool.
today should be a particularly fulfilling exercise, just given what fight we have upon us and what fight today we are going to look back upon. And if you don't know, on this show, historically, leading up to UFC pay-per-views and milestone events, we will look back at previous career fights involving the headlining athletes. So really fun part of our film study. We love bringing it to you here exclusively on UFC Fight Pass. And today, we're looking back at the main event from UFC 242, September 2019. So this was a few months before COVID-19, I guess, began to rear its head sort of worldwide. And at that point in time, the undisputed UFC lightweight champion was Khabib Nurmagomedov. He was making his second title defense in Abu Dhabi against Dustin the Diamond Poirier. This was the first time Khabib had competed since the win over Conor McGregor and ensuing brawl about 11 months prior. That was UFC 229. And of course, little did we know, Ken Flo, at this point in time when Khabib was entering this Poirier fight, that this would be his second to last fight. But on the other side, it was Dustin Poirier. He had a stretch of 7 fights that produced 6 wins and a UFC interim lightweight title. So he thereby had earned his shot at the undisputed lightweight title. And we go to Abu Dhabi. I remember it being hot, and we can roll the tail of the tape here, Cody Merrow, our great producer. I remember it being hot. I remember a 2-man booth with me and Dominic Cruz. And I remember him just intimating that he probably wasn't going to be back there all that frequently in the future. Tail of the tape, no surprises, 2-inch edge in reach for the challenging athlete Dustin Poirier, both fighters 30 years of age as this fight arrived in September of 2019. And